Hi, third, fourth, and fifth grade leaders. We are getting ready for January 13th. And this week we're going to look at Joseph's dream explained. If you remember last week, we looked at Joseph and how he was the favored son of Jacob because he was Rachel's firstborn. And his brothers sold him as a slave and told their dad that he died. And all of that happened because they didn't want his dream to come true. And so this week, we're going to figure out what that dream meant. We're going to see how God had been working all along and had made a plan for Joseph to be the one who could help his family survive a famine. So in your social time, you're going to have a paper, and it's not going to be this exact one. This was the one from last week, but it's called Letter Meanings. And on this paper, there's going to be some numbers and some letters and a couple of words. And kids are going to spend some time, and we want this to be hard on purpose. Spend some time seeing if they can decode what all of this means. And a hint for you, you will have an answer sheet attached to your leader guide so that you can help them come up with the meanings of all of these words, of these puzzles. So the puzzles are hard, like I said, on purpose, because there's sometimes that all of us need to realize that there are ways for us to get the help that we need, or in the case of Joseph, sometimes we just need to sit back and we need to wait on God a little bit longer, and maybe even a lot longer. And so we're doing these activities to give the kids a big challenge, and to also help us all remember that God's plan is written clearly in the Bible for us to learn what his character is, so that when we get in times like Joseph was we can be assured that God is always who he says he is. He follows through with his promises, and he can do anything that he has in his plans and his purpose. All right, so then you have in your small group time, you're going to have a bag full of cups. And it is possible that I may have given you different color cups. I didn't have all of the colors that we needed for as many groups as we have doing this activity this week. And between 9:30 and 11 service, you guys are going to have the same cups. Just because cups are cups, it really doesn't matter. So it's possible that you have 10 blue cups and 1 red cup. I don't remember how I divvied that out, but you will have enough cups, and this activity will still work. So what you're going to do is divide your kids into 2 teams, and then they're going to do a relay, and you're going to set the cups out like this. I'm going to hold on to one of them for now. And what they're going to do is take the bottom cup as a relay, so one person at a time can move 1 cup, and they're going to put it on top of the other cups. And then that person runs back to the back of the line. And then the next person is going to take the bottom cup and put it to the top. And so the first team that has the blue cup all the way back at the top of the stack wins. And they shouldn't do what I just did. They should continue to keep putting the red cups up on top to help it go. And then your directions in your leader guide are a bit vague. So I'm going to add a little bit to this so that maybe it helps you guys as well. I think that this activity helps me remember that there is sometimes a plan and a process for things, even when I don't necessarily know what the plan and process is. That God's plans and his purposes, he knows what they are. We don't always have to know what the big picture is, just like we've seen all the way from Adam till Joseph right now. We don't have to understand every step, but we can trust a great, great big God. So I think you can use this as a way to talk about that. I also think you could use this as a way to talk about Joseph's brothers. And how they might have reacted when they had the chance to see their brother again and realize that the dream that they didn't want to happen, they needed to happen so that they could survive. They would have likely died if Joseph wasn't in the place he was in. And so maybe talk about that, maybe relate that to their families. This story, I think, is a great way for us to relate to our kids. Many of them live in these similar family situations, and they're going to understand what it's like to have family members that don't love you the most. They're going to understand what it's like to have strife amongst their families. And so this is a good way. This story and this activity could be a bridge to help you into some of the discussion questions. I highly recommend that you try to play the games with the kids. Many of our kids have not been with us long, and so they don't know that they can trust us to talk about things with us yet. And so by playing the games, we're helping build that trust and giving them opportunities a little at a time to begin to share the things that are on their heart. Then you have your memory verse activity, and your memory verse activity is in your folder. It looks like this. On your leader guide, it'll say crazy stand-up categories game. We dropped some of the words on this, I think it looks better. So it's just called stand up. It's the exact same thing. Don't get confused. It's the exact same thing. And this is really just to help you. These are some different categories. And so today you could say, stand up if you own a goat. It's fair season. Maybe kids have a goat right now. And those kids who stand up will recite the memory verse. They can read it off the poster. A few of them have done it for a couple times now, so they may be starting to learn it and memorize it. But I wouldn't emphasize that yet. Once we get into February, they've seen it long enough, most of the kids, we can really start playing that as a game. But most of our kids aren't with us every week, unlike your groups on Wednesday nights, if you lead in both areas. Then you can pray and help your kids transition to their families. Remind your kids, if they were able to share some things with you, that you're going to trust a big God with them. I know for me personally, there have been some things that have come to light in the last year that I am so thankful that when I was these kids' age, I had an understanding of who God was, so that when some things are uncovered later in life, I don't lose my perspective on who God is. I don't have to question that part. There's a lot of other questions, but I don't have to question who God is. And so I know many of you have similar stories and similar backgrounds, and so use those experiences as much as you're willing to share and help kids process some of those things so that they can know that God is good. His plan, He keeps His promises, and He is working things out according to His giant plan, which is not necessarily ours all of the time. I want to remind you about our leader luncheon on January 27th. You don't want to miss this. If you've missed every other one besides this one, come to this one. We have the best lunch in town. I promise you, Vita cooks the best food ever. I don't think we've had the same meal twice, and it is super yummy. Your kids will get to eat and be entertained, and you didn't have to do that. For free, all that's for free. Plus, we will get to play some games and work through some of our policies and procedures so that we continue to create safe, welcoming environments for kids. And prizes, all a part of it. Just let me know you're coming so we can make sure to prepare enough food. Thank you guys so much for leading and for loving on kids and building relationships that build disciples.